Good morning, good evening, afternoon, whenever you're watching this, whether you're watching live or on the replay. I want to welcome you to another edition of Auburn Family live streams here as part of E2C Network Live. So thank you guys for being here. As you come in, we do always ask that you consider liking this stream to help it out. It does help push it out to other Auburn fans so they can come find us, so they can be part of the discussion here. But we appreciate you stopping in and being part of our little family within the Auburn family for even just a few minutes, if that's all you have today. As always, on these live streams, we have a major topic that we want to discuss today. But on these live streams, it is a fair game to discuss anything and everything Auburn. If it's orange and blue, we'll talk about it here. Always heavy on the sports, but it can really be anything as long as you want to talk about it, because that's what this is all about, is connecting with you, the Auburn family. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kyle. I'm the editor of the E2C Network, which is a family of podcasts that cover Auburn athletics. So this is our YouTube channel. Primarily, we are a podcast network. So if you haven't checked out some of that stuff, I'm going to provide you a way to do that, and I hope that you will, because there's some great content out there from not just myself, but many other contributors that are part of our team of podcasters and content providers. Some stuff that you just don't want to miss out on, because it's just great stuff all the way around. Everybody doing great work here today. Main topic for today I have is, where does Tank Bigsby rank among Auburn footballers? I feel like I'm D Ford now. Currently. I know that's kind of a broad and an odd conversation to have, but there's been some chatter recently about kind of where his, prospects lie in terms of his future at Auburn and where he might end up if everything goes according to plan, his plan and Auburn's plan. Might be fun to kind of sit down and talk about that. In fact, I need to get out a pencil and paper because I think it's going to be best suited for me to keep track of some things as we go throughout the show. So I'm going to try my best to do that and stay organized. But as I said, anything is fair game. If you want to bring anything up, obviously we've got spring practice in full gear here. March Madness has finally slowed down a little bit. Anything you want to talk about is fair game. But as we get started here, and as I do my pre-show announcements, I always want to remind you to post where you're watching from, city, state, international. If you are an international, post it right now with a War Eagle, and let's get the roll call going. So with that being said, here's the stuff we always want to remind you of, the ways that you can help support the content we do here. The easiest thing you can do is listen to the podcast, or even be here on one of these live streams. That's the cheapest thing you can do, and the obviously the most effective thing that you can do to help support us by doing that. All the links that I am discussing here, all the things that you might want to check out, are listed in the description for this video, but also in the very top of the chat window. There's even one pinned up there for the E2C Network Booster Club, which you can sign up for as little as $1 a month and help support the content that we do here. And a humongous shout out to those of you that are doing that already. We even had someone, if they pop in, I will embarrass them, up their ante and support us a little bit further recently, which was a huge help. So thank you to that. I do see one Patreon member in the group already, Mr. Joe Rudolph. What's going on, Joe? Thank you so much for joining the E2C Network Booster Club. I want to embarrass you whenever I get a chance to. Appreciate your support. Also, there is PayPal, and you can shop at our TeePublic store and get our logo on a t-shirt or some other Auburn sports-related stuff. That link's up there. There's a sale going down tomorrow, and I think it lasts through the weekend if you want to go check that out. That is a good time to get those t-shirts, and I'll try to remember in the next live stream to wear one so you can see it if you're interested. All right, we've got a good group assembling here already. We've got Joe, true GA fan, Samuel, Ethan, the sports kid. Ethan, have we seen you before? You have to remind me, or have you changed your name, or that logo or that thing looks a little bit familiar to me for some reason. I can't pick it out. All right, so let's see here what everybody's saying at the start to catch up on the chat. Tank is so good, I am realistic that he could make up for a bad O-line. Well, he did that already last year, right? Now, let me preface this by saying, because for some reason people get up in arms when I have the audacity to say anything about the offensive line. I actually am one of those people that tries to not say. I always try to be constructive in my criticism. And I think an area where there is plenty of constructive criticism to go around is the offensive line. I think that is blatant to see. And Tank, while the offensive line got better than they did previous years, they still weren't up to the level that I would like them to be. And I think they acknowledge that as well. I think everybody acknowledges that. I don't think that's a mean thing to say. But Tank definitely made them look a lot better because of his ability to bounce, his ability to break tackles and move forward without having much support on the other side of the equation. So, yes, he does make offensive lines look better. And as he gets better and the offensive line gets better, that should make you very, very excited. Yes, I know I dropped the footballers thing. That's what D Ford, if y'all don't know who D Ford is, you need to know it. That's like required Auburn fandom 101 now. In fact, we've interviewed her on Auburn Roots. You can find the link in the description in the top of the chat if you want to check out that specific podcast series. It's on the main feed, but it's also has its own specific one. She's episode 1. You need to know her Auburn story. It is the quintessential Auburn story. Let's see here. Explain to me again, besides media hype, while proven SEC winner Bobo, who groomed Stafford and Murray, is not as good as a hire as winless head coach Mason, who played a terrible female kicker. Explain to me, I have to follow that. Besides media hype, why proven SEC winner? I think I would just, in terms of just not to dismiss what you're saying that, because I know you meant it kind of in jest. The whole female kicker thing, that's not even necessary to have in this conversation. Not that that's not cool in and of itself, but it's just, has no bearing on whether someone's a good coach or not. I think the reason Mason is probably the more exciting hire is because he has had a longer tenure, I think, than Bobo. And he comes from the Pac-12 and also has now spent time, a significant amount of time in the SEC, so he knows the lay of the land. And everywhere he's go, his defenses have matched the level of talent that is available to him. So Stanford, yes, they were very good while he was there, in terms of him being a defensive coordinator. The Vanderbilt situation is always tricky. I try not to knock them too bad for that situation because it's Vanderbilt. Sorry, Vandy fans. Anchor down. Anchored real down. I won't sit here and say that I was super excited about either of the hires. I would have much rather us retained Travis Williams and given him the defensive coordinator role as he now has under Coach Malzahn at Central Florida. But that's how everything shook out, and that's who Coach Harsin feels that is the best for us going forward. So I think it's honestly, there's obviously some other things at play that make Derek Mason the darling hire, so to speak. But I would say I got more excited just because of that simple fact alone. So I don't think there's one thing you can really pick on, but I think Bobo didn't have as good of a time at Colorado State. And I think that's left it's more recent too. It's hard, like I said, it's hard to knock someone for not being successful at Vanderbilt. Colorado State, while that's not that much of a step up, we've seen people do it in the past. McElwain was successful there, so I think that plays into it as well. How about Auburn baseball? How about it? So let me just say this, and we were discussing this. If you're not part of our Facebook group, it's called Auburn Family Tree, and it's got E2C Network as a subtitle, so you can't miss it. Come on over there. I should probably provide a link for that too, but alas, I have failed you. But it's pretty easy to find over there on Facebook. We're talking about that today. Someone posted, what do you think about Auburn baseball? And it's obviously we're struggling right now in terms of winning, but have you seen who we're competing against? I was actually very proud of the way they showed out at Ole Miss, arguably one of the best, if not the best team in the SEC. So I think that they are there's some struggles, but I think they're doing better as time goes on. Ooh, we got a lot of people in the chat. All right, we got to catch up so we can get to the Tank Bigsby topic here. Good morning to you, Wiz Dragon. You've been here one time. Well, good. I'm glad you're back. And as you guys are coming in, make sure you smash that like button if you do enjoy this content. What's up, 7-8? How about Auburn softball? Yeah, Auburn softball's doing pretty good, right? Obviously, probably the more favorable of the two. Now they got swept by Alabama, if I'm not correct. Honestly, I'll be completely honest with all of y'all. This week has been all March Madness for me. And this is why I kind of did an impromptu stream today, because I've just missed being in the routine of doing these, and this was a topic that was on my mind today. So let's get on here and talk about this a little bit. So we got the Samuel Pate and Ethan connection going on here today. Let's see. Tennessee is my favorite team. I like Auburn, though. Oh, man. And now I see that in your avatar there. Now we can all collectively sigh and just feel bad for the Tennessee fans out there. Joe is getting us started here. He says, I think he'll go down as a top 10 in Auburn running back history. It's very easy to think that, and I want us all to do a little bit of exercise here as soon as I catch up in the chats, and talk about that a little bit, because I want us to maybe walk through that statement, or the statement of where does he rank currently, because it's easy to speculate, because we can just say whatever we want. I haven't seen Casey drop in yet. Maybe they are here, but Casey has been known to operate in hyperbole, and I pick on Casey because of that, not just out of love. But Casey would say best running back of all time, hands down. So it's very easy to make that statement. Our Tennessee fan predicts that Auburn will go 8-4. I also predicted 8-4 as well, but I actually took it a step further and predicted an 8-5 in a bowl game. And then we've got a 7-5. Sam, I was in line with your thinking originally, but after the schedule officially came out, and I looked and we walked through it here on a live stream, and you can go back and find that one if you'd like to watch that. I just felt that it was pretty likely Auburn could get 8 wins out of the season. And so my perceptions of the first year of Coach Harsin and prospects and predictions have already improved. So there's that. Thomas, what's going on, my man? Good to see you. Really, we all hope everybody beats Alabama. Like, we hope y'all beat Alabama. Isn't that right? Mason has said, and I think this comes from his press conference, he's like a kid in a candy store referring to the talent he has. So imagine this. Imagine a scenario where not only do you come from Stanford, and granted, they're a Power 5 conference, but it's the Pac-12. You can't touch us. Auburn's proven that. Oregon can't beat us. Washington can't beat us. That's some of their best teams they put out recently. Then you go to Vanderbilt, and while you're technically getting SEC talent, you're not getting enough of it to really work with. That just goes to show you how great an option for a coach or an assistant coach to come to Auburn is, because the talent is here and will be here. Can you use it, though? This is the deepest defensive talent that has been for Mason since he was at Stanford. He was a great opportunity at Auburn, obviously. Now, opportunity means it's there, but you got to do something with it. I did see that we beat FSU and Kennesaw State. Today, isn't Auburn baseball playing South Alabama or something like that? I forgot. I wonder what our basketball team could have done in this tournament this year with our full roster. Yeah, we often, the ifs and buts and candies and nuts scenario, if you've ever heard that phrase, we're all going to keep asking that. I think we talked about this, and I said roughly my prediction was that we would get, we'd have to have made an incredible run in the SEC tournament at this way the record shook out, but we could have come in at like a 10 or a 11 seed, probably an 11, even maybe a play-in game. We might have replaced like a Wichita State, or we might have replaced not a Syracuse, because they're looking pretty good. The team they beat originally. So we could have done that, but it would have been a tall stretch to do that. If Tank doesn't get injured, I say he goes for over 1,200 yards. I mean, if we have a full season with a 99% chance of a bowl game. If we go to a bowl game, imagine we play UAB. That would be awesome. I know you're a big fan of that, Sam. That's what he wants. So that he's got a little bias in that. All right, so let's get into the main topic. Obviously, as I always say, we can bounce around things, so don't be shy. Don't ask questions, drop comments, all that stuff. The big question is, where does Tank Bigsby currently rank? And as I've already said, and you guys have already brought up, we can take that any different ways and kind of say where do we think he's going to go, but I want to talk about right now. So I think a good exercise to do that is who are the top running backs in Auburn history in your mind? So start dropping some names right now. I'd love to hear your perspectives on that. And I think there's some obvious ones out there, but I want us to kind of maybe walk through some of them and kind of figure out and make cases for where they might be able to land on that. So I think number one, I'm going to go ahead, and I know some of you are already probably typing it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Bo Jackson. I shouldn't rank that, even though he is number one. There's no question here. Bo Jackson. Does anybody disagree with that? I don't even think Alabama fans disagree with that. They don't have a running back that can sniff Bo Jackson's tennis shoes in his in their life, you know. Hey, Joe, I did not attend the open practice Saturday. I really wanted to go. My goal, and I think you've known this since you were one of our supporters, I share some of this stuff with you guys, that I'm trying to build this into a bigger business and take it to Auburn one day, so I can do things like that for you guys and be able to do live streams and show you stuff on campus. So I am planning to be there most, if not all, A-Day weekend. So if you're going to be there, I'd love to meet you, anybody, and I hope you'll stay tuned to all that stuff that I'm going to be putting out there. Tank was great last season. Imagine how much further he can with an O-line. Absolutely. Go crazy, Tank. Speaking of, so we've got Bo Jackson. Cadillac, I think, is without a doubt the next one a lot of people think of. I think then you also have to include Ronnie Brown. Just writing names down, and these may be in order. I don't know. Depends on what you think. And when you think about this, you got to think about their whole career at Auburn, and I think you also probably got to include at least a little, maybe not a large portion of your thinking, but at least a smaller portion in what they did professionally as well, because I think that has to factor into it as well. So Thomas is already kind of, I wish Bramblett was here, don't we all? You're gonna make me cry with that. He'd have a joyride with Tank. Could you imagine the sayings that he'd be saying right now? All right, Bo, Caddy, Ronnie, and when you say Rudy, I'm assuming you mean Rudy Johnson, so I'm gonna put Rudy J. Trey Mason, and Carry On. So these are all names. And you know what? I hate to say it, and please, when I say this, I'm not negating how awesome Carry On Johnson was, but I right now am going to actually axe him and put him over here, kind of almost like as an honorable mention. And Kowalski wrote this in too. Ben Tate, same thing. And this is just my own personal thing, so I know you guys may not disagree with this, but keep them coming. Other great Auburn running backs. Let's even think beyond the modern era. But I think all of those ones so far, I put Carry On and Ben to the side just for a second. But Bo, Cadillac, Ronnie, Rudy Johnson, he's probably like the tail end of this list. Trey Mason, I mean, guy went to the Heisman ceremony, had an incredible junior year. So, yeah. I think those are some good ones there. What else? Who else comes to mind when you think of the best Auburn running backs of all time? Kenny Irons, anybody? It's okay. Your favorite person is here now. My wife? Jessica? No, she's not here. She's at her work today. So, I think of some other names probably like wow, Kyle, you're blanking on Steven. Gosh, somebody help me out. Played for the Carolina Panthers. I cannot believe I'm blanking on his name at the moment. But there's been some other ones as well. Joe says Ronnie, Cadillac, Bo, Steven Davis. Thank you. I think Steven Davis personally gets into my list as well. I think what pushes him over the limit is his pro career. Making it to the Super Bowl, all that stuff. Trey, Rudy, KJ, Tucker Fredrickson. Now, that's a different type of running back, but yes, I would say he gets in there. It's a good one. Mike Dyer. I'm going to put Dyer over here as well because he didn't finish and he kind of, didn't end well, unfortunately. Davis. Which Davis are we talking about? You have to give me a specific Davis. Oh, Steven Davis. Thank you. You guys are clarifying on that. Yeah, I think we got that one here. Let's see. Bo Jackson was okay. The most understatement of the entire year. A.U. Robinson. All right, keep them coming if you can think of some other ones. But, So I think, honestly, what I've got written down so far in the official list, and when I say official, just, that there's no question that they deserve to be part of the list of greatest Auburn running backs. Bo Jackson, Cadillac, Ronnie Brown, Rudy Johnson, Trey Mason, Steven Davis, and Tucker Fredrickson. Off to the side, I've got Kerryon Johnson, Ben Tate, Michael Dyer, a little bit. Anybody else? Joe Cribbs, thank you. Joe Cribbs immediately goes on this list, the main list. That is one I am ashamed of not putting there. Ontario McCaleb. You know, that's a bit of a... Because he wasn't like really a true running back until his senior year when he was the only one there. But, you know, just in terms of putting him over here on a list, I'm going to put him over in that same group. James Bostic. Wow. You guys are good. That is definitely on the list. Was it Lionel James, the little train? What about that one? Peyton Barber. That'd be like a separate list down here, but yes. That'd be a separate list down here. Dyer only had one move. Brent Fullwood. I'd probably say, and this is maybe ignorance on my part, I think it feels like some of y'all got a list of Auburn running backs pulled up and are just like naming them all now, which is, I put Brent Fullwood over here with like, you know what? In fact, I'm going to move Ontario down here. Fullwood. Ben Tate was a beast, and that's why he's kind of on the sub list here. McCaleb. All right, keep him coming. But let me break it down to you this way. Does anybody disagree with this list? No questions asked. Yes or no? I want you to post in the chat window right now. These are arguably always should be included in the best running backs. Bo Jackson, Cadillac, Ronnie Brown, Rudy Johnson, Trey Mason, Steven Davis, Tucker Fredrickson, Joe Cribbs, and James Bostic. Does anyone have a problem with that list? In terms of, you know, like you can't make a case that someone else should replace them. Irons is another good one, but I'd put him in this like sub list here. Terry Beasley was a running back, or excuse me, a wide receiver, but you know, they were very different offensively back then. Trey Smith is a good one. He'd kind of be down there with Ontario and Peyton for me personally. All right, Darius. I think Darius is voting for everyone. Yes, okay, I'll stop. Larry says no. In terms of voting for that, no problem with that. No problem. Okay. So if it sounds like you have a problem with this list, you're going to have to make a better case for it. All right, so this is what in terms of our topic with Tank Bigsby, with the body of work that Tank Bigsby has done so far, one season in a not so great year, can anybody make a case that Tank Bigsby should replace anybody on this list currently? Bo Jackson, Cadillac, Ronnie, Rudy Johnson, Trey Mason, Steven Davis, Tucker Fredrickson, Joe Cribbs, James Bostic. Can anybody make a case that Tank Bigsby should replace any of those names? And we'll come back to some of these other names we talked about in a second. But I'm going somewhere with this in terms of our perception of Tank Bigsby and where he kind of falls into right now. By the way, just as a reminder, if you haven't, please do make sure you smash the like button if you are enjoying this content. I think people don't realize how much that actually does help. 1 year, we got a lot of people saying not enough years, only 1 year. Heck no. So, yes, I think, honestly, the problem that you have, and I know this is kind of just somewhat of a formality of an exercise here, but I think it's important because I think what it does when we start this speculation about Tank Bigsby, we need to ground ourselves in terms of where he is currently so that when the media people start pushing this narrative, oh, he's the greatest, he's got the potential to be the greatest. Well, yeah, he might, but you could say that about anybody. But who does he got to beat? And, there's statistics you can look at. Those are important. But there's also, you got to factor what they do after their career at Auburn as well, just a small degree. Bo Jackson, I think, has got the best case out of all that because he was a 2-sport athlete and arguably a 3-sport at that. But yeah, running back you, baby. We're also defensive back you. If you're not following us on social media, I posted something today about defensive backs currently for Auburn. It's pretty crazy. You need to go check that out. In Florida alone. Sean Shivers. So when you're that small, you've got to focus on making your body ready to take the hits. And so I'm proud of him for making sure he's right. I just want, I want him to maintain his speed. So I hope he doesn't get too big, that he doesn't have that little pop that he has with his bowling ball nature. All right, so it sounds like nobody would disagree with the list here, that Tank doesn't belong on that. So what that means is, with the list that we all have subscribed, the top list, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that means that at this moment, Tank Bigsby could rank 10th. But now let's look at the sub list here. So in the sub list, like the second group I've got Carry-On, Ben Tate. You know what? I'm moving Michael Dyer down. I'm doing it. So, Carry-On, Ben Tate, Brent Fullwood, and Kenny Irons. Based off what you've seen of Tank Bigsby, can you make a case that he is better than Kenny Irons, Ben Tate, Brent Fullwood? Any of those names. Can you make a case for that? Please let me know, because I'd like this to be a collaborative effort here, because we're going to start seeing where he probably does rank. And look, I get it. He's had 1 year, but we're only operating off of what we have right now and, kind of what we've seen, because what we've seen is a lot of good things, right? So I'm aware that this is just, we're going off of 1 year, but it's still a good exercise to have. Nobody's got any opinions on that quite yet. Cornerback, defensive back, and linebacker. So Auburn's had a case, Joe, for being the U of many things. Obviously, right now, I would take that a step further, and you did it, defensive backs as a whole, because there's safeties and cornerbacks and currently here. But being defensive back U right now, and we were linebacker U, and kind of are getting back to that a little bit, I feel like, for quite some time. We have been defensive line U. I would say we probably haven't been defensive line U, but we have been known as being able to produce those. Running backs, yes. We used to be offensive line U. That one hurts. Wide receivers and quarterbacks is one area we could do a little bit better in. Probably quarterbacks the most, but wide receivers is kind of trending that way with Darius Slayton and that kind of thing, with sitting Seth Williams and Anthony Schwartz on. Hopefully Elijah Stove, that's going to continue to improve. Joe says KJ, Irons, Omac, so he says on Terry McCaleb, then Tank. I could argue with Carry-On going to the top running back list, but I agree. Okay. So here's what I'll say with you guys. Off of second sub list I have, Carry-On, Ben Tate, Brent Fullwood, and Irons. I would also agree that Carry-On slides into that, and this is not an official list, this is just a working group list. That Carry-On slides into that number 10 slot, because we had 9 currently and then moved Carry-On over. That I can make an easy case for that. So that eliminates Carry-On from the sub list and moves him there. Can anybody make a case that Tank currently ranks higher than Ben Tate, Brent Fullwood, or Kenny Irons? I feel personally like I don't know Brent Fullwood's career enough to make a fair assessment on that. So if anybody here does, I know the legend of Brent Fullwood. I know how he's revered, but I can't think of a Brent Fullwood stat, a Brent Fullwood moment in my head. And I know that's partially on me, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to put Tank above him currently. But, yeah. What do you think? Roger McCreary is going on the list in the first round. First 3 rounds, he was 2 right. Same with Smoke. Yeah, we've got some good ones we'll be sending again this week. Or this month, I guess. Favorite running back of all time? You can't see him because of the mic stand right here, but my signed copy of Cadillac. Cadillac was my beau. I've always told it this way to relate to the generation before me. Cadillac was my beau. Tommy Tuberville was my Pat Dye. And Rod Bramlett was my Jim Fife. That's was like the legends during my adolescence and growing up. Those were the guys that I looked at. You know, and be like, wow. Cadillac, without a doubt. All right, I don't hear anybody making a case for Ben Tate, Brent Forward, or Irons. I'm going to be a little bit biased here and lean on history and lean on, you know, legends and stuff like that. I'm going to slide Brent Fullwood under Kerryon Johnson. And then I feel like personally that I can make a case that currently Irons was probably better than him because they're very similar in their style of running. And then Ben Tate as well. So here's what we've kind of got to at this point, and there's a second sub list. Peyton Barber, Ontario McCaleb, Trey Smith, and Michael Dyer. All great in moments they've had, their times here. You know, Peyton's probably was the biggest surprise out of that. Ontario is not a traditional back, so it's kind of hard to figure that situation out, but he was very successful over a long, extended time. Trey Smith was another big surprise. James Brooks. Okay, I'm going to put James Brooks under Kerryon. Just kind of spitballing here. Kenneth, that is a great one. Brad Lester, ain't that crazy? I would put Brad probably in that third subgroup as well. Cam Newton. His all-time favorite is Ronnie Brown. That's a good one to have. I don't want to say it in chat. Okay. So, with that being said, I thought I put James Brooks in here. I didn't. Okay. So, I would say when we started doing this, remember we originally made a list of no doubters, top Auburn running backs, easy to make a case for them. There was about 9 of them. We had a subgroup of about 4, really 5 when we forgot James Brooks, and he probably should have been close to the of course, no doubters. All of them, I feel like I could make a case currently based off what we've seen of Tank Bigsby that he is still below them. I feel like I could make a case based off what I've seen off of Tank Bigsby in 1 year that he's comparable to Peyton Barber. He's comparable in his trajectory because Ontario's got a large body of work to Ontario McCaleb. He's comparable to Trey Smith. He's comparable to Michael Dyer. Very similar as well. And then Brad Lester, I would say as well. He can make that. We had somebody throw Brad Lester in there. So here's what we've settled on. Tank Bigsby in our just impromptu, informal workshop here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Tank Bigsby in an informal, impromptu, hardly any research put into this workshop, currently ranks 15th. Maybe. And there's probably going to be people that are upset saying we forgot some, that we probably should have put, I don't know, in Ontario, a Peyton Barber, a Trey Smith ahead of him because of just the whole age thing. And I get that. I acknowledge that. But I think this is a pretty solid starting point for Tank Bigsby to be currently 15th in terms of fan perception. Now, when we get into statistics and all that kind of stuff, there's that as well. Because some of the statistics he was dropping last season were better than a lot of people on this list at that point in their career. So, when you see the speculation, the rumors, the talk, and there was an article posted that's kind of what prompted this idea to talk about today was, for me, think about it this way. A group of at least 9 to 10 solid on the list, and there's at least a group of 4 to 5 that you could make probably still above him. So he's about 15th on the list right now, which is pretty good starting point. So what does that mean going forward? If he has a year comparable to this year and he stays healthy, I think he immediately passes Ben Tate, Kenny Irons, Brent Fullwood, and James Bostic. Or James Brooks, excuse me. Maybe. I know that some of the older guys I'm probably butchering in terms of like, oh, there's no way, because you don't know them as well. That's probably true. But I think if Tank Bigsby makes a similar year, he is making a case to already be in the top 10. If he stays for another year, which I think he would have to because he'd still be a true junior, where would he be after that? So knowing his starting point right now, and let's assume he has a similar year going forward, where do you, and I want to everybody's answer in the comments, where do you realistically see Tank Bigsby being amongst this group? Top 10? Top 5? Top 3? Number 1? You really think he's going to pass Bo? What do you think? Let me know. Comment section always become a war after a bit. Yeah, look, so that's the big thing when you get involved in comments and stuff. And that's why on our Facebook group, we really try to hone that in, and we don't allow, and I try to police it here, and I know some of y'all get mad at me for that, is I'm not going to address, and I'm not even going to, and if you're just going to be one of those people that's excessively negative, especially towards other players and coaches, because we've got a lot of players and coaches and their family members, current and former, that follow us, we're going to kick you. So just remember that in your interactions on here. Thomas says top 10. If Tank can stay healthy, he'll get in the top 10. Darius says top 10. Top 5. Slow your roll, buddy. I didn't say it. That was a question. That's why I said top 5. So I think we all agree that Bo, Cadillac, Ronnie, and then it's probably a big debate after that point who's the other top 5. If Tank Bigsby has the type of year he's capable of, the type of years, and goes early in the draft and has a pretty decent NFL career, you could be looking at a top 3 running back. Could be. I don't know. We'll find out, won't we? We've thought that about a lot of other players. It didn't pan out exactly that way, and they still are very revered on our list. But the speculation and the potential is very, very high. He has top 5 caliber. He has ways to go. All right, so that's the main gist of the topic. Obviously, we can talk more about that if you have other talking points or comments that you want to bring up about anything. Obviously, hopefully Auburn related. But if you even want to talk about March Madness or anything else, drop it in there now. 3 years could land him in the top 5. I think we're good for 3 years with him because I think he's moved past that potential of potentially transferring now that there's a new head coach and all that stuff. As long as they utilize him, I think he'll be happy to stay for his full 3 years and get drafted early because we all know that running backs' shelf life is very low in the NFL, and he's going to want to maximize that for money, and you can't blame him, especially with his talent and his potential going forward. All right, post comments, questions about anything that you want to talk about right now, and hit that like button if you haven't done so. Let me go ahead and do this one more time in our show. I'm not necessarily going away right now, but this is kind of the point where we start rounding things out. If you want to help support what we do here, again, all of the links that and ways to help support are listed in the description for this video. And at the very top of the chat window, and I was live, so you'll have to scroll all the way back up to the top. But there is one pinned. Specifically, I want to point out to you the Booster Club. For as little as $1 a month, you make a huge difference in helping support what we do here, because it does help us pay the bills on hosting what was potentially been at times 8 different podcasts. Currently, we've got 6, I think, that are full-time running right now. That is an easy way. You get some perks, some good stuff for you, and thank you to a lot of our Patreon members, our Booster Club members, such as Joe, and then I don't think I've seen anybody. Oh, maybe it was John popped in earlier, but anyway, if I missed you, I'm sorry. but I always try to give them shout-outs when they're here. But you can do PayPal. You can do our TeePublic store with a sale coming up tomorrow. And the easiest and least expensive way is to listen to the podcast, leave a review, all that good stuff. I hope that you enjoy what you're liking here. Darius says Zachary McClain has a breakout year. I'm calling it. That's a Ricochet Rabbit. That's a easy claim to make. I will not fault you for making that. I will. Who says last year wasn't his breakout year? He led the league in tackles. How does he not win best linebacker? How does that not happen? That's probably an easy one to make there. Can you make a 2 deep for skill position on both sides of the ball? Sleep on this and get back to me. Are you in? Joe, I can probably do that. You're going to have to remind me, though, because barring big news, I will not be going live tomorrow or Thursday. Might be able to do something Friday. So just keep reminding me. But I think that should be pretty easy to do that. And I think recently, maybe like a month ago, we did a roster breakdown on offense and defense. If you want to go back and look at that, I think you may have been part of that one. So if that's something that you want to hold over until that time, we could potentially do that. I think that's going to be great stuff, though. Let's see, on both sides of the ball, 20 to 2022. Are you saying like all time? A 2 deep of all time? Oh, that's a lot. Yeah, that's going to take me some time to work on then, because that's a lot there. A Buckus Award winning year. Yeah, I mean, I think he probably could have made a case for that last year. But, Owen Papo, too. He's got a case for that as well. Here's the good thing is there is, and this is evidently clear if you listened to the press conference with Derek Mason, the talent is here at Auburn. Will we use it, though? That's the big question. So you should be excited that they're, and it's easy for your coaches to say that, but, this is a coach that just got here. And this is a guy that's coming from Vanderbilt. And if he's excited about what he's seen, you should be excited too. Oh, you want me to do all time? Yeah, that's going to take some time for me to. So what we'll do probably, Joe, and this is a great thing to think about too. If you don't mind, we'll probably table that, barring no information or nothing to talk about, because we're about to have plenty to talk about. Spring practice, more things are going to be coming out. NFL draft, A-Day weekend, baseball and softball and all this stuff. There's going to be news coming out about that. We got the Sharif Cooper stuff. That's going to be. So really what I'm saying is when we get to later months, and I'm not saying I'll put this off for a long time because I want to honor your request as a Booster Club member, but there will be plenty of time for big topics like that because there won't be a lot of news to talk about. But I think that is a great topic idea. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, it may be a good podcast topic. We'll think about it. All right, guys, I think that's it today. I really appreciate you being here. Smash that like button on the way out, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any opportunities to be a part of one of these streams. We've hit 850, I think. I'm probably going to start implementing that call-in feature if y'all want to utilize that in the near future. I said 900 subscribers was my threshold. It's taken us a little bit while to get there, but I'll think about it. I'll sleep on it. But thank you guys for being here today. I really appreciate it. War Eagle.